Ah, there you are, my dear friend. I was hoping you might wander this way before the fire burned too low. Come, sit beside me. There's still warmth left in the stones, and the moss here is soft. It remembers the sun from earlier today. Just there. Yes. See how it gives under your weight, like a cushion sewn by the forest itself. The world has gone quiet, and the evening has begun to settle its cloak over the trees. I've drawn mine close already. This old wool thing has followed me from coast to coast, worn thin in some places, thick with the scent of wood smoke in others. It's heavier than it used to be, or perhaps I am just lighter now. Either way, it rests over my shoulders like a memory. Listen, do you hear it? That hush? The fire's speaking in soft crackles, a kind of language of its own, isn't it? It doesn't shout, only murmurs, sparks whispering to the sky in their last breath. And overhead, the last edge of sunlight is slipping behind the canopy, bleeding gold and rose into the blue. The leaves catch it like glass, trembling gently in the breeze. No rush, no fanfare, just fading, the way light always does. Quietly, faithfully. I do like the time just after sunset, before true night settles in, when even the air holds its breath. You can almost feel the world slowing down, like an old hound curling up by the hearth. It steps as though everything is saying, "Enough for today. Let it be." The fireflies have started to come out. Not all at once, just a few brave little lights at first, blinking here and there in the shadows. See them? One just passed by your knee. Another over there, just above the stump. When I was younger, I imagined they were stars that had drifted down to earth, tired of watching us from afar. I used to reach out my hand and pretend I could catch one, but they're too clever for that. They dance just out of reach, leading you on through the hush like tiny glowing guides. I've kept the fire low tonight, just enough to keep us warm, not so much that it argues with the dark. Shadows are welcome here, you see. They don't frighten me, not anymore. I've come to understand they're not the absence of light, but the shape of it. You can learn a great deal sitting in a place like this, saying nothing, letting the forest speak instead. The stones behind us belonged to something once, an old arch perhaps, or the edge of a crumbled wall. There's ivy threading its way through the cracks now, and the earth has softened the lines, worn them down until they resemble ruins of a dream. I like it here. The past feels gentle in places like this, as if it too has grown weary of its sharp edges. Here, take this. A corner of my cloak. The night might turn cooler soon, and besides, it's always better, I think, when warmth is shared. That's something I've come to believe with time. What matters most in this life is not what we carry, but who we carry it with. Let us just sit. Then, no need for words if they don't wish to come. There is time, all the time in the world it feels like. We'll watch the fire burn down together, and when the last ember fades, we'll let the dark find us wrapped in stillness. There's peace in that. Yes, peace. You feel it too. Don't stitch you. Stay a while, my friend. You at fees come far. And tonight, you need go no farther. Do you smell that, my friend? The air tonight is thick with the scent of pine needles and ashwood smoke. A pairing older than any tale I've told. Resin and fire, earth and ember. It's the kind of scent that settles into a person's cloak and never quite leaves, no matter how many rivers you ford or summers you pass beneath strange skies. I rather like it. It reminds me of nights like this, when all the world is slow and still. Look about us now, if your eyes aren't yet too heavy. The trees here, they rise tall and proud, as if they were meant for more than simply growing. Great pillars, straight and sure, with bark darkened by time and shadow. Their branches cradle the sky, and their roots embrace the old stones beneath us. I sometimes think of this glade as a cathedral, you know, not built by hands, but by patient seasons and gentle rain, the kind of place where even silence bows its head. There sits a reverence to it all, not the loud kind, the kind you find in temples of gold and song, but the quiet sort, the sort that humbles you, draws your breath slower. Even the owls respect it. You can hear one now, can't you? Just there, to the east, behind that ridge of fern and thistle. She calls out now and again, slow, round notes like bells muffled in wool. Her voice carries through the trees, not seeking anything, just speaking, as if to say, I am here, I too am listening. And the wind, the wind tonight is gentle. It weaves between the trunks like a memory moving through a dream. You'll feel it on your cheek if you sit still long enough, a cool breath trailing the edge of night. It stirs the high branches, but leaves the moss untouched. That's a kindness, I think. We need not be roused. Not yet. Beneath us, the stones are old, worn smooth in some places, cracked and moss-covered in others. They once belonged to a monastery. Long before even my grandfather's time, you wouldn't know it at first glance. So much has been taken back by the forest. But if you press your hand against this one here, just beside my knee, you can still feel the faint edge of a carving, perhaps a sunburst, or the curve of a saint's halo. Time has softened it, the way sea waves soften glass. The ivy has done its work well. It climbs and curls and stretches itself into every crevice, dressing the bones of this place in a living green. It's beautiful, isn't it? How something so small can reclaim stone and shadow alike. Even in silence, the forest remembers how to grow. There's a stream not far from here. You might hear it if you listen beyond the crackle of our fire. It speaks in murmurs, never louder than a whisper. The kind of stream that doesn't rush anywhere in particular, just wanders gently, through roots and rocks, as though it has all the time in the world. Sometimes I imagine it's telling stories to the stones, passing on old tales the trees have forgotten. And the ground, oh, the ground here is soft, my friend, covered in pine needles and dry leaves woven together like a blanket made by patient hands. Each step you take is quiet. The earth does not mind being walked upon. It only asks that you listen in return. I find that fair enough, don't you? Above us now, the stars are beginning to emerge, not in a hurry. No, never in a hurry. One by one they blink into view as if remembering they were meant to keep watch. The gaps between the trees offer small windows to the heavens. Through them you can see constellations older than kingdoms. That one there, see it? Just over the curve of the broken wall. That's the hunter's crown. Though truth be told, I've never seen a crown in it. Just a crooked smile and a story I can't quite remember. The air is warm tonight. A lingering warmth, the kind that holds to your skin long after the sun has vanished. It wraps around the camp like a cloak, mingling with the glow of the fire and the rhythm of breath. Even the insects seem content to keep to themselves, save for the occasional cricket tuning its legs like a lute. It's a good sound, an honest sound, one you can fall asleep to without worry. And now, if you tilt your head just so, you might hear the creak of the old bough above us. Not a warning, no, just a reminder that everything here is alive. even the still things. The trees speak slowly, in a language of bending wood and sighing leaves. They do not need to be heard to be understood. They've watched us for lifetimes, after all, and they remember more than we do. There is no moon tonight, not yet at least, only the soft quilt of night stretched overhead, stitched with silver, and in its embrace we are small, but never alone. That's the thing I love most about this place, you see. You can feel the presence of all that's come before, monks and birds, stars and roots. And yet none of it presses upon you. It welcomes you gently, no more, no less. It's but a good place to rest. The kind of place that does not ask for stories, but quietly receives them. I've told many here, and kept just as many to myself. You are safe here, my friend. The world beyond these trees may rise and fall, as it always has, but in this grove time leans back. It exhales. It forgets to rush. Let us forget, too, just for a while. We'll sit in the hush of this sacred ruin, beneath a cathedral of trees, beside a fire that doesn't mind burning slow. And as the stars gather above and the forest draws its breath, we shall listen, not to words but to the stillness between them. That sips the true sound of this place, and it has waited a long, long time to sing you to sleep. Yes. I suppose the time has come, hasn't it? You've sat beside me so patiently, so quietly, I nearly forgot how kind it feels to be in the company of a friend who does not need to fill the silence. The world rushes and bellows, always demanding names and titles, deeds and declarations, but here, by the fire, I think I can speak simply. So, let me begin not with who I was, but with who I am right now. I am a knight. Yes, but not the sort sung about in smoky halls or carved into stone with banners unfurled. They wear no crest any more. My armor, what little of it I keep, bears the dents of time, not war. And my sword, well, she rests more than I do these days, wrapped in oilcloth and memory. You will not find her drawn tonight, nor any night for many seasons now. I do not tell you this for sorrow's sake. No, no, quite the opposite. You see, there was a time, not so long ago in the turning of the stars, when I believed motion was meaning, that the road ahead was always more noble than the one behind, and that glory, whatever that was, waited just over the next ridge. I followed that path for many years, longer than I care to count. I walked roads that wound like riddles, crossed rivers in flood and field in flame. I left behind names, promises, even letters I meant to send but never did. They sit folded still, I imagine, in some dusty satchel far behind me. And yet here I am, not riding, not searching, just sitting, breathing, watching embers rise. Funny, isn't it, how stillness used to frighten me, as if doing nothing meant being nothing. I understand now that stillness is its own kind of journey, perhaps the most honest one. My body agrees, I think. It speaks to me more clearly these days, in the stiffness of knees, in the way my back prefers stone walls over saddle leather. There's a slowness in my limbs I never invited, but it has become something of a friend now, a reminder to be gentle with myself and with the moment I'm in. I've come to love slowness, truly. It's where all the details live. The sound of bark cracking in the night air, the way moss feels beneath a tired palm, the long exhale before a star appears in the dusk. You don't notice such things when you're galloping towards something uncertain. But here, they find you, these quiet beauties. They gather around you like firelight. No, I am not weary. not in the way some would say. I do not feel lost or hollow. I feel full of days and rain, and years of quiet thoughts gathered like leaves in the folds of my mind. There is a weight to me, yes, but it is not burdensome. It is the weight of being, of having lived, and still choosing to live in softness. There are names I have worn, but I will not recite them tonight. Not because they are untrue, but because they are unnecessary here. Titles are loud things. They clang and echo even when spoken softly. But the truth of me, the truth is this: I am a man sitting beside a friend, beneath the trees, warmed by a fire built not for battle, but for peace. And you, dear friend, you've given me something rare this evening: your company, your quiet, your trust. That is no small gift. In all my travels, I've learned this above all else. Companionship, freely given, is the finest treasure a soul may hold. It does not tarnish, it does not rust, it only deepens with time. So, what else might I share with you? Let me think. There is a kind of ache that follows those who spend their lives chasing banners. It's not the ache of wounds or weariness, but of wondering if what you sought was ever truly yours. I used to wonder that too. But now, I no longer chase. I wait. I listen. And in that quiet, I've found more answers than all the quests combined. Do you know what I think about often? The letters I never sent. Some were written for kings, others for old friends, and one, I think, for someone I loved long ago. They were meant to say brave things, noble things. But in truth, if I could send them now, I'd only say, I am still here. I think of you. I hope the wind is kind where you sleep. That would be enough. And now regrets. Not anymore. Just a tenderness for the person I once was. Always running, always searching. He did his best. And I honor him. But I do not follow him anymore. I sit with him, in memory. I let him rest too. And here, in this ruined place, wrapped in ivy and moonlight, I have made peace with the man I've become. I no longer need to prove myself to the world. The trees do not ask for heroics. The fire does not care what my crest once bore. And I am, fully, with you here. So yes, I am a knight, but more than that, I am a witness to quiet things, a keeper of slow stories, a listener, a man who has come to love the hush between words more than the thunder of applause. And if you'll have me, just for tonight, I would like to share that hush with you. Let us rest here together, not in victory or triumph, but in peace. No need for glory when you have stillness. No need for songs when you have stars. You are safe with me, dear friend, and I am grateful for your presence, more than I can say. He carved small symbols into the lantern's frame. I remember that most of all, tiny curling runes that had no known meaning in any book, but carried weight just the same. A bird in flight, a leaf drifting on water, a spiral like the curl of a sleeping cat's tail. He said each mark stood for something he wished I'd never forget. Grace, patience, stillness, and kindness above all. I didn't understand them then. I was too full of fire, too eager to go farther, faster, always towards something just out of reach. Then one day, in a forest not far from where we sit now, I lost it. It wasn't a dramatic loss. No storm, no thief, no wild tangle of fate, just a quiet misplacement. I'd stopped to rest beneath a leaning willow, unhooked the lantern to set it beside me, and when I rose again, it was gone. Maybe I left it behind. Maybe it slipped into a bed of moss and vanished from sight. I searched, of course, searched until the sun began to set, until the shadows grew long and my breath came cold. But it was as if the forest had tucked it away, folded it into its endless green heart. For a long time I mourned it, not loudly, not with words, but with absence. You know the kind, I think, when something dear goes missing, and the world feels just a shade dimmer, even when everything else continues as before. I moved on, of course, lanternless, but always with the faint ache of something once close, now gone. Seasons turned, years even, and I did not speak of it, not out of shame, but reverence. Some things are too gentle to retell until the time is right. Like as a pasted, stotas, dough. Not long ago, as the forest was turning gold with autumn, I took a walk. No purpose to it, not truly. Just a wander. I've grown fond of those. No map, no goal, just letting the feet choose their path, letting the breath find its own rhythm. The forest was quieter than usual that day, as if the trees were holding something just beneath their bark. I remember the crunch of the leaves underfoot, and the scent of rain that hadn't yet arrived. And there, between two ancient yews, their trunks grown close as if in conversation, I saw it. A glow, not bright, not loud, just a soft amber light, swaying ever so slightly in the still air. My first thought was a trick of the sun or a bit of caught glass. But as I stepped closer, the world seemed to hush around me. Even the birds paused. It was my lantern, hanging from the broken arch of an old temple ruin, half buried in vines. The same iron frame, the same curved symbols etched in its bones, as if it had waited for me, as if it had known I would pass that way again. I did not rush to it. No, I stood still for a long while, letting the moment settle, letting the memory rise like mist. And you know what I felt, dear friend? Not urgency, not regret, only warmth. I did not reach out to take it. Not because I didn't want it, but because I realized I no longer needed to carry it to feel its light. That lantern, lost and now found, had already done its work. It had lit me through the darkest parts of my path. And now, simply knowing it still glowed somewhere in the world, that was enough. So I sat, just as we're sitting now. I watched its light flicker in the wind, and I let it be. I whispered a quiet thank you to the one who gave it to me, and to the forest who kept it safe. And when the time came, I turned and walked back through the woods, the path clear not because of flame but because of peace. That, I suppose, was my quest. Not a quest of conquest or discovery, but of returning, of remembering, of letting go. And now here we are, you and I by a fire of our own, and the only light we need is the one that flickers here beside us, and perhaps the one that glows softly in the memory of a lantern once given in kindness. It spurs a gentle thing, isn't it? How something so small, an object, a symbol, can hold an entire season of your soul. And then, how lovely it is to find, after all that time, that what it gave you never truly left. Yes, my friend, this was my quiet quest, and I would choose it again, every time. Shall I tell you more of what I saw on that walk? Or perhaps we simply sit a while longer and let the story linger in the hush. Yes, I remember that walk well, my friend. It was not a path made by men, not paved or marked, but one carved softly by time and deer hooves, An old trail perhaps once traveled often, now left to the care of moss and fern. It wove through the forest with no hurry, like a thought that forgets where it began and simply wanders for the pleasure of wandering. The air was cool that day. Not cold, but touched with that pleasant dampness you get when the sky is overcast and the earth breathes a little deeper. A gray hush hung above the treetops, and with it came a softness to all things. Even the bird song felt muted, as though the woods had wrapped everything in a kind of woolen quiet. I remember the first thing I noticed was the moss. It blanketed the stones like velvet, thick, lush, and springy beneath my hand as I passed. Some stones were old footings, I think, left from a time when this path meant something to someone. Others were just river rocks carried here by the slow, patient fingers of a stream long dried. But together they made a trail of green and gray, as if the forest itself had drawn a line, asking me to follow. And so I did. There were moments when I paused, long uncounted minutes, where I simply let my eyes wander and let my feet rest. One such place was by a tree hollow, low to the ground, nestled in the roots of an old beech. There, cradled in the curve of bark, was a robin's nest, not newly built. No, the twigs were weathered, lined with scraps of feather and old wool, perhaps left behind by some shepherd's passing flock. The nest was empty, but not abandoned. It felt held, as though the tree had adopted it, taking on the task of keeping it safe, even after the robins had flown. I did not touch it, of course, only watched. And in watching I thought of all the homes we make in this world, some grand and gilded, others no more than a hollow in a root, all of them fragile, all of them full of meaning. A little farther along, just past a gentle bend where the trail dipped low, I came upon a patch of mushrooms. Not the common sort, mind you. These glowed, truly they did, pale green like moonlight seen through mist. They clung to a fallen log, blooming in soft, perfect clusters, each cap gently curved like a bowl meant to catch starlight. I crouched beside them, hands on my knees, and simply stared. The glow wasn't bright. It wouldn't have lit a page, but it was steady, and it made the dark beneath the trees feel sacred, almost holy. There's something remarkable about light that comes from within, isn't there? Not borrowed from sun or fire, but born quietly in the dark. I remember thinking then, some things shine only when the world grows dim around them, and perhaps we are like that too. The forest offered me more, as forests do when you walk slowly enough. There was an abandoned well I stumbled upon, not quite hidden, but easy to miss if you weren't looking. The stone ring of it was crumbled on one side, half swallowed by brambles and ivy, but when I leaned over and dropped a small pebble in, I heard it. Water, faint, distant, still there. It echoed upward like a secret spoken long ago, waiting patiently for someone to listen. I closed my eyes, leaned on the edge, and let that sound wash over me. Not just water, but time, old time, the kind that pools deep and undisturbed. I wondered who once drank from it, who once dipped their hands in it, who once saw their reflection there. I wondered if they'd ever sat beneath the same trees and whispered hopes into the dark. And somewhere after that, though I can't say how far, for the trail had ceased to matter, I found a tree, a large one, perhaps the largest I've ever seen in these woods. Its trunk was wide enough that 3 men with arms outstretched could not encircle it. Its bark was deeply grooved, like the pages of an ancient book written in a language of time and growth. I sat beneath it, as I am sitting now, and leaned back into its side, solid, patient, kind. I tilted my head up, following the rise of its branches until the canopy vanished into mist. Clouds had begun to shift by then, breaking gently apart like pulled wool, and light streamed down in ribbons, thin shafts of sun that danced with dust and pollen. And I watched, not for any reason, not because I sought meaning, but because it felt like a good thing to do, a necessary thing. The clouds changed shape slowly, one becoming a fish, another a ship, another a curled sleeping cat. I smiled, and there, in the leaf litter at my side, I saw a stone. It was smooth, pale, and shaped like a teardrop turned on its side. I picked it up, turned it in my palm, and for a reason I still don't quite know, it made me think of a friend, long gone, long missed. One of those companions who walked beside you for a time, and then turned down a different road, never to return. There was no sorrow in the memory, only softness. So I held the stone for a long while, then placed it back where I'd found it, let it keep its place in the story of the forest. You see, this path, this quiet journey was never about reaching a place. It was about these little gifts, these gentle reminders that the world, even in stillness, is filled with wonder. As a fern brushing your calf, like a whisper, the way the bark peels in perfect curls from a silver birch, a spider's web catching dew like a necklace forgotten in the woods. These are not grand things, but they are real, and they are enough. We often speak of quests as battles to win or goals to grasp. But I think the gentlest quests are not about gaining at all. They are about noticing what the world offers freely, quietly, without fanfare, as a morn patch of sun, a bird singing to no one, a stone that feels like a memory. And when you walk slowly enough, when you let your breath match the rhythm of the forest, you begin to see that there is no emptiness, only space. Space for reflection, space for peace, space for a soul to stretch out and say, yes, I am still here. That is what the forest gave me, my friend. Not answers, not direction, but presence. And presence, I have found, is enough. I hope one day you find a path like that for yourself. Not because you must, not because anything is missing, but because it is a rare and wondrous thing to be held by the world, to be gently shown that you belong, even when you are quiet, even when you are still. You know, my friend, I've been thinking more about that lantern. Not just the one I told you about, the one that once hung from my saddle or swayed at my side in those long moonless stretches of road, but what it truly meant to me, what it came to become long after the metal rusted and the wick dimmed. I think it's easy to speak of objects as tools, easier still to think of them as relics, but some grow roots in the soul. That little lantern, it was never just for lighting the path ahead. It was a piece of someone's care, handed to me in the hope that I might carry not only its flame, but its meaning. I see that now. I didn't then. Back then, I only thought of it as helpful, useful, something to keep the dark at bay. But now I understand. It was a gesture, a whisper, a way of saying, you do not have to walk alone. And that is something I think we forget to say often enough. You see, when we are young, oh, how we love the noise of striving, of charging forward, of naming every step as progress. We want to declare things, proclaim them with confidence, wrap them in banners and words and assurances. And yet, the older I grow, the more I find truth lives not in declarations, but in the quiet between them. Silence is no longer empty to me. It is full, so full, full of presence, full of love even. Not the thunderous kind of love sung in tales and painted on chapel ceilings, but the kind that simply stays, that rests beside you when you have nothing left to give, that shows up without being asked, and asks nothing in return, the kind that sits in silence beside a fire, shares a cloak without comment, and lets you be utterly and without condition. That, I believe, is what my lantern was. A soft light, yes, but more than that, a reminder that I was seen, that someone somewhere had once held a part of me gently in their hands and wished me well. How rare that is, and how precious. There are times I still wish I could speak to that man again, the one who gave me the lantern. I would not say much, just enough, just thank you, not for the object, but for what it carried, for what it taught me long after he was gone. You see, I've come to understand something else too. Guidance rarely comes as answers. It arrives most often as presence, a look, a gesture, a small light offered into your hands. And when you are young, you don't know how to recognize it. You think love is loud, that wisdom shouts. But it doesn't. It waits. It lets you come to it when you are ready, and only then does it speak softly, like firelight on an old wall. Yes, and now I think often of what I carry in turn. What lights, however faint, I might have left behind for others. Not achievements, not victories. Those fade faster than we think. But perhaps a word said gently, a moment of listening when it was needed, a stone left undisturbed, a fire tended just a little longer than necessary. I like to imagine those things matter, even if no one remembers who gave them, stirred. Perhaps especially then, and as I sit here, wrapped in my old cloak, with the scent of ash and moss clinging to me, I find I am not burdened by the passing of years. Not anymore. There was a time when I feared aging. I'll admit that plainly. The slowness, the forgetting, the ache of waking. But now I see aging as a deepening, not a lessening. Like tea steeped a little longer, like wood darkened with age. I may be softer in places, slower, but I am more present than I ever was, more aware of the gentle things, the real things. Do you know what I've noticed? How beautiful rest can be when you allow it to be complete. Not sleep out of exhaustion, nor pause out of necessity, but rest as a kind of return, a homecoming to the body, to the breath, a laying down of every sword, even the ones you've kept hidden. Yes, that is something no one ever told me, that rest is not surrender. It is grace, and it is here by the fire, under these stars beside you, that I feel that grace most. I no longer count regrets, my friend. I have no ledger of things undone. I carry instead a bouquet of moments gathered over seasons, some thorned, some fragrant, all real. And even those I once thought of as failures, I now cradle like worn stones, smooth in the hand shaped by time. They sift taught me just as much, you know. Mistakes, missteps, words I should have said or should have held. All of them became teachers in the end, and in that I find peace. Because life is not measured in the clarity of its path, but in the way we walk it. And though I walked in circles at times, though I returned to the same forests, the same thoughts, I never walked it alone. Not truly. There was always someone, a presence. Sometimes a person, sometimes a tree, sometimes just a hush in the dark that told me, you are allowed to rest here. To now, I offer that to you. This place, this stillness, this moment. Let it be a place where nothing is asked of you, where you are already enough, where your breath is a welcome guest, and your heart, no matter how bruised or wandering, is at home. You need not prove anything to me, dear friend. You do not need to impress or explain. You have come far farther than most. And if the world has not told you lately, let me be the one to say, you are good, you are worthy, you are here, and that is more than enough. Let your heart slow now. Let your shoulders lower. You have carried much, but here, in this breath, you can set it all down. There is nothing in this world more sacred than presence, and tonight, I offer you mine. Quiet, gentle, whole. Let the fire crackle. Let the wind move through the trees. Let the night sing its lullaby in rustling leaves and distant stars. And let your soul finally feel still. You are safe, and I am so very glad you came. Ah, yes, that step's how it ended, in the most quiet of ways. I found it just as I remembered, my old lantern resting there in the hush of that overgrown temple arch, still glowing, still waiting, the same warm light it had always offered, flickering gently beneath the curls of ivy and stone. And oh, how soft that moment was. There was no music, no grand swell of feeling, just a kind of stillness that reaches into your ribs and settles there, like breath made visible, like time pressing gently on your shoulder, not to hurry you, but to say, be here just a little longer. So I sat down beside it. Not hurriedly. I eased myself onto a bed of moss worn flat by seasons and rain. The ground had that lovely give to it. Cool, earthy, just damp enough to remind you of how alive everything is beneath our feet. I leaned back against the stone, crumbling yet strong, and let the lantern keep watch while I did nothing at all. It didn't just ask for anything. It simply burned the way it always had. Quiet, steady, unbothered by the years or the vines that now framed it like a shrine. You know, my friend, I thought I would feel something more dramatic, closure perhaps, or a sense of recovery. But the truth is, what I felt most was peace, a soft peace, like wool soaked in warm water. Not the kind that floods you, but the kind that soaks in slowly with each breath, but didn't reach for it. I didn't need to. That part of the story had already passed. The lantern had done its work, and I had done mine, to try and bring it back now. It would have been like trying to recapture a dream already dreamt. No, it was meant to stay there. And I was meant to sit beside it. One last time. The sky changed while I sat. It went from that late-day gold, with the light slanting long and warm, to the blue lavender of dusk. You know the color I mean. That in-between hue where everything softens, where the edges of the world seem to blur just a little. The leaves no longer shone but whispered, and somewhere in the forest, the night creatures began their patient stirring. Owls, crickets, the slow rustle of unseen paws. Still, I did not move. Sometimes you don't realize how tightly you've been holding the past until you feel it exhale. I felt it then, like my whole life, in one long, slow breath, released through the tips of my fingers and into the moss. I don't remember if I closed my eyes, but I do remember the feeling of being watched, not by anyone or anything in particular, but by the forest itself, by the trees perhaps, or the stone, or time, and not watched in judgment. No, never that. Watched the way a mother watches her child sleep, with care, with patience, with the knowledge that you are safe now, that you have nothing more to prove. When the first star blinked into the sky, I knew it was time to go. Not because I was done, but because the lantern had already given me what I came for. And what I came for was not the object, but the memory. Not the weight of it in my hand, but the warmth of it in my chest. So I left it there, swaying slightly in the night breeze, framed in vines and shadows, a quiet sentinel in a forgotten ruin. I left it not in loss, but in love. And as I walked back, slowly, mind you, with no reason to hurry, I carried something with me, not in my pack, not in my hands, but in the hush of my breath, the looseness in my shoulders, the ease in my stride. That's what a journey like that gives you, in the end. Not a trophy, not a tale to boast of, but a softening, a remembering, a settling. By the time I reached camp, the fireflies had begun to rise, just like this. Just like now, they blinked and floated in their slow, unhurried rhythm. Tiny stars come down to rest among the grass and stone. I returned to this very place, this little clearing where I now sit beside you, and I laid myself down not as a man victorious, but as a man complete. Not every story needs a finish. Some just need a place to rest. And that's what this is, isn't it? This moss beneath us, this fire, this company. It is a place to rest. Even now I can feel the weight of the day dissolving, the edges of thought going soft, the night growing heavier in all the right ways. I shift now and then to ease the ache in my knees, but it is a familiar ache, and I welcome it. It reminds me that I've walked far, that I've returned, that I've earned this stillness. You too have walked far, my friend. There's who's sitting as worries and hopes. You've carried things no one else can see, and still, here you are. And I am glad to share this rest with you. Do you feel it too? The way the forest draws its breath, deep and slow, the way the dark doesn't press, but embraces, the way the stars blink without demand. It's all part of the same quiet, the same gentleness, the same peace that flickered once in a little iron lantern, and now flickers quietly within us. We do not need to speak much now. Let the night do the speaking. Let the wind thread its fingers through the trees. Let the fire crackle its lullaby. Let the soft murmur of the earth remind us we are not separate from it, but made of it. Soil and breath, thought and bark, shadow and starlight. And in that knowledge, let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw loosen. Let your thoughts come and go like clouds across a silver sky. You are safe here. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time. And there is nothing more you need to do tonight, except breathe. Yes, just like that. Let this be your soft place. Let this be your gentle ending. A night not of conclusions, but of rest. And if that lantern still glows, far off in the woods, swaying in silence, let it glow, let it be. It has its place, and we have ours, right here, together. Just Darvani. Just look at the stars tonight, dear friend. A whole field of them, scattered like candlelight across the dark, no pattern to it that I can see. And yet, it feels right, doesn't it? Like they were placed just so, to remind us that some things are beautiful simply because they are. I've always liked this part of the night. When the fire has gone low, and the world leans a little more into its own quiet. When even the wind seems to soften, as if it's tucking the leaves in for sleep. Everything slows, even thought, even memory. You've stayed with me through it all this evening, and for that, I thank you. Truly, your presence has been like a warm cloak around my shoulders, a comfort beyond words. It is a rare thing, you know, to share silence with another and feel fuller for it. There's something I've come to believe, and I'll share it with you before we let the dark take us fully. Peace, real peace, is not a destination. It's not a place we ride toward or a thing we win. It's a moment, a breath, a quiet truth we sink into, like moss underfoot. It comes not with conquest, but with the gentle permission to stop chasing, stop reaching, and simply be. You've earned that, my friend. You may earn rest. Not because you've finished everything. No one ever does. But because you are here, and that is enough. The fire sips down to embers now. Golden coals nestled in the ash, like memories that still glow even after the heat has passed. And the night, oh, how kindly the night has come. It presses in, not with weight, but with welcome, with softness, with arms wide enough to cradle every thought, every dream, every sigh. Let your breath follow its rhythm now, slow and slower still. There's nothing more to say. No duty left to fulfill. Perceive its moment, this stillness, this hush between us. And should the stars ever call you back to this forest clearing, should you find yourself again in need of rest or remembering, know this, I will be here, always, right where you left me, beside the stones, beneath the trees, with a place beside me, kept warm for you. So go now, gentle soul. Let your thoughts float like feathers. Let the quiet carry you. Sleep is close, closer than breath. Let it take you. Let it hold you. And from this firelit heart, from mine to yours, good night and peace, always.